Astronomy and space. The moon. Our strange neighbor. When Galileo turned his telescope on the moon for the first time in 1609, he was amazed to see mountains and craters and plains in it. Some of the mountain peaks are of great height. The lunar mountain Lebanese is higher than Mount Everest. The craters are of various sizes, some as small as peanuts, others several kilometers in diameter. There is one factor common to all these craters: they are all circular. The moon is our nearest neighbor and the only one ever to have been visited by man. It is only about 384360 km away from us. If it were possible to lay tracks between the earth and the moon, it would take a train traveling at an average speed of 120 km per hour 130 days to reach the moon. You may consider this a very long distance, but compared to the distance of other heavenly bodies, this distance is not much. The moon is roughly a quarter of the size of the earth, but as far as its weight is concerned, it would take 81 moons to equal the weight of the earth. All objects that are dropped from a high point or thrown up will come back to earth ultimately. The earth pulls them all. This pull of the earth is called gravity. The weight of everything depends on gravity. The man cannot lift this barbell weighing 180 kgs, but he would be able to lift it easily on the moon, because there it would weigh only 30 kg. The moon's gravity or pulling power is only 1/6 that of the earth. You can't jump too high on the earth because the earth pulls you down very strongly. If you can jump 4 feet high here, on the moon you would be able to jump 24 feet 6 into 4, because even though you would be 6 times lighter there, your energy would remain the same. It is difficult to fall on the moon. The astronaut found that if they lost their balance, they begin to fall in slow motion, giving them plenty of time to regain their balance. We are used to blue skies, but did you know that the sky over the moon is pitch black even during the day? It's because there's no air there. Our earth has a blanket of air around it. This blanket of air is called the atmosphere. The atmosphere makes our sky looks blue, and it does many other things besides. In the daytime, it shields the earth from the sun's heat, and at night it prevents heat from the earth from escaping into space. The poor moon has no atmosphere to protect it. During the day, the sun beats down mercilessly and directly on the moon's surface, and the temperature goes over the boiling point. If a man were suddenly to find himself on the moon, his blood would boil in the heat. He would leap into a shaded place, and there he would shiver with cold. On earth, heat is carried from one place to another by air. As there is no air on the moon, heat stays where it is without spreading around. The area exposed to sunlight becomes very, very hot, but shaded places remain bitterly cold. The whole land becomes bitterly cold the moment the sun goes down. At midnight, the temperatures on the moon is minus 50 degrees Celsius. It may surprise many of you to know that the moon too has days and nights, but daylight there goes on for about 2 weeks of our time, and when night finally comes, it too stretches on for about 2 weeks, another 2 days for daybreak. We get moonlight at night. What does the moon get? Earth light. Earth, like the moon, does not have any light of its because it reflects the sunlight. Now it reflects it better than the moon does. You could read a paper very comfortably in earth light. The moon goes round the earth. It moves very fast, covering about 60,000 kilometers per day. Yet it takes 27 and 1/3 days to circle the earth once. As it goes round the earth, it also spins like a top. A top spins very fast. It takes no time at all to make one turn, but the moon spins very slowly in comparison. It takes 27 whole 1/3 days to make one turn. You will notice that it takes the same number of days to turn once round itself and to make one orbit round the earth. If you keep a chair in the center of a room and go round it in an anti-clockwise direction, it is your left side which will be turned towards it all the time. Similarly, as the moon travels round the earth, it keeps the same side turned towards the earth. When Galileo looked at the moon through his telescope, it was this side that he saw. Nobody knew what the hidden side of the moon looked like until 1959. In that year, the Russian spacecraft Luna 3 passed behind the moon, took pictures and sent them back to Earth. It was found that the hidden side looked very much like the side turned towards us. Have a look at the friendly face of the moon, side facing us. There are places with names like Sea of Clouds, Mare Nubium, Sea of Nectar, Mare Nectar, and Sea of Rains, Mare Erythrium. Actually, there are no seas or river or ponds on the moon. In fact, there is not a drop of water there. The seas mentioned are fairly smooth lanes. Just as the moon travels round the earth travels round the sun. Once a month, the sun, earth and moon are in this position. The side of the moon turned towards the earth is not lighted up by the sun, and so we can't see the moon at all. We say it is a new moon. 2 weeks later, the sun, the earth and the moon are in this position. Then the sun can shine on the side of the moon which is towards us, and we see a full moon. Another 2 weeks and the three bodies are back in the first position in between. Same, but not all of the moon's lighted side is turned towards us, and we see the moon becoming either fuller or thinner and thinner. So even though one half of the moon is always lighted by the sun, we can see the full lighted side of the moon only once a month. The rest of the time we can see only parts of the lighted side, and at new moon we can't see it at all. If we were watching our earth from the moon, we would see our earth too in various shapes and sizes. The race to the moon. The first ever spaceship to be launched was the Russian satellite Sputnik 1. It was launched on October 4, 1957. Luna 1 was the first spacecraft to fly past the moon. It was launched by Russian space scientists on January 2, 1959. Luna 2, launched on September 12, 1959, was the first spacecraft to hit the moon. Luna 3 was launched on October 4, 1959. This spacecraft took photographs of the far side of the moon, which had never been seen before. This is because the moon always has the same side, turned towards the earth. American attempts to reach the moon were not successful until July 1964, when a Ranger 7 spacecraft sent back pictures before it crashed on the moon. Both Russian and American scientists began to design spacecraft that would not crash but land gently on the moon. In 1966, the Russians succeeded in landing a spacecraft gently on the moon. This spacecraft, Luna 9, sent back the first close-up pictures of the moon's surface. Within 4 months, the Americans also soft landed a spacecraft, Surveyor 1, on the moon. So far, a spacecraft had gone past the moon, crashed on it, and finally landed on it. Now, space scientists began to send a spacecraft to circle the moon and take pictures of the surface. Luna 10 was the first spacecraft to circle the moon. However, the Americans were first to put a man on the moon. The spacecraft that finally put man on the moon was Apollo 11 on July 21, 1969, as Neil Armstrong stepped on the moon's surface. His first words were, "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind."